And hello, welcome everyone to this video. So in this video, I want to not just not just have what do you call that? I would like to actually make a few more buttons for this page, for this data storage page, to actually start what do you call that? I want to have a few buttons to delete components. Basically to execute these methods. Okay. Let's vim. Yeah, I'll vim everything up. Yeah, I want a few more buttons to let's see. Yeah, I want a few more buttons to do like delete component, update component, so on and so forth. Okay, so we will try to do that now. Okay, so first thing first, let's do the easy ones. Okay, we'll just use the delete component. Okay, and we'll select the delete component by ID. Okay, so let me open a new line by pressing O, and then over here I want to put this user input, and over it will say what? Okay, enter okay, to DW, DIW, DW. Okay, what I want to say, I want to say enter ID for deleting or updating components. Okay, so what is this? This is an ID which I want to use. Okay, and of course when I make this new enter your ID kind of a thing, I want to make a new property, and this property is none other than the ID. Okay, so I will take this over here and I'll paste this. Alright, and open a new line to give it a space. Okay, so instead of string, I want to change this to integer, and change here. I change this to ID. Okay, so over here, I will do the same change in the CI in the inverted commas. I'll put ID, and the validation will also be for ID. Okay, so enter ID for updating or deleting the components. Let's wait for it to load. It says hot reload succeeded. Okay. It says argument out of range or something like that. Okay, ASP4, ASP validation 4. Bind property and required public integer ID get set. Let me reload everything because I don't know what's going on. There's a bug here, obviously. Alright, so there's this ID for updating, deleting components. Okay, of course it doesn't do anything now. Oops. 1, 2, 3. Okay, add component. Alright, so this ID here is to update or delete components. Let me close that. Okay, so of course this thing doesn't look nice, at least, and just me being a bit particular, even though I'm not making a very nice web page, but at least, you know, I don't want the items crowding each other out. Okay, so at least one more space down here. Okay, so it says here enter ID for deleting or updating components. Okay, so let's give ourselves a delete button. Okay, so I'm going to take one of these buttons and then I'm going to start using delete. Okay, press O to open a new line and paste it here. Okay, the button type will be submit, class is button primary. Okay, and the ASP page handler will be called delete component. Okay, delete component. Delete component. Okay, that's the button, and then over here you should also say delete component. Oops, let me undo CRW delete component. Alright, okay, everything should work well. I have a delete component button here. If I press it, it does nothing. Okay, because I did not define anything to any kind of method for doing that. Okay, let me do a set no wrap to make this look a bit nicer. Okay, I'll press the O button to open a new line. So public void on post delete component. Okay, backwards please. Okay, replace it with this. Okay, insert open line, insert yeah, oops, undo, save, open line. Okay, so this ID, okay, ID should not be required. ID should not be required. I'll delete this thing. ID should not be required. All right, and then okay, let's see. And let's go to see which is the method that helps us to implement this delete component. It will be called delete component, of course. So component repo.delete component. Okay, let me press double equal to indent it properly. I'll change this to delete component. Delete component, and then okay, we'll use the ID. We'll use the ID over here. Okay, this.id. Okay, so I'll be using this property right here, this.id, and using that to delete the component. Let's see whether it works. Okay, delete with ID 0, nothing happens. Delete with ID 1. Okay, I will keep, if I keep pressing delete, it will delete all the components with ID number 1. If I delete something with the ID number 2, it will delete all the components with ID number 2 until none are left. Likewise for ID number 3. Okay, I can keep pressing populate, and then I can delete the ID number 1. So it will of course take the FirstOrDefault. So the first item in the list with the ID number 1 will be this one over here. If I click delete, okay, the first one will be gone. If I click delete again, this one will be gone. If I click delete again, this one will be gone. So if you have multiple ID number 1s, that's how the thing will be deleted. Okay, so now we have a delete method. We can also implement an update method. Okay, so update method is just basically we have this update component right here. Okay, so how do we do update component? Okay, public void on post update component. All right, open and close, and of course I will need to create a button for that. If not, I can't really do anything with this, right? So let me put a paste here, and let's go to the update. ASP page handler should be update component. Okay. Okay, 5D. Oh no, doesn't work. Oh, it works. All right, never mind. I was trying something with him to see whether it works. Anyway, so let's insert update component, and I can change this CIW update component. And what do we do? We'll do this on post update component, which means this method will be called. We'll have an update component right here. So what is the method that we want to call? Okay, so I'm going to open a new line with O component repo.what. I'm going to use update component. Okay, ID. The first thing we supply is the ID, and then we will say this new component is what we want to put in. And where does this new component come from? Okay, I'm going to use this on post add component. I'm going to copy and paste over this entire code. Okay, I'm going to copy and paste it here. Open a new line, paste. All right, So this thing will only happen if the model state is valid. Okay. And let's put this here, and let's put an equal sign to make sure it's indented properly. So what are we doing here? We have the new component. We made a new component object. This new component ID will be, well, we will not assign the ID. I mean, we can assign the ID to what? To this .id. All right. So we will, let's see. I wonder when I selected the update option, what does it do? Let me take a look at the update. Oh, I don't have it here. Okay, never mind. I digress. Okay, so what do I want here? Okay, okay, the update component thing. Okay, the ID of this will be, well, we will have the this.id. We'll have this thing, this ID here being used. Okay. You'll have this ID being used here. All right. But yeah, I think you kind of need that ID. Okay. So let me have two if statements here. Okay, because my thinking is this. I have not required the user to supply an ID over here. So I cannot use this model state is valid kind of a thing. All right, so let's do this. Okay, if the user doesn't supply an ID, so we can supply an if statement. Okay, how do I know that the user hasn't supplied ID? Okay, if this .id equals to null, okay, or rather this .id not equals to null, then we start to update our then only then we will start to update our new component here. Okay, this .id not equal to null. Okay, what is this here? Oh, right, the not operator has to come before the equal sign. So let me delete and put it here. All right, so if the ID is not equals to null, then we start doing all of these steps. Okay, then we will start to ask, is the model state valid? If the model state is not valid, I mean, if the model state is valid, then we can start putting all of this data in. All right, so yeah, this ID and new component should be in. This code should work. So for example, let's see. Let me clear all. I'll populate, and let's say I want to change the ID for number 1, okay, into hi1QWE000. Okay, update, and you can see that my ID number 1 item is changed. Okay, I actually deleted that entire line and I put in a new line. Okay, may not be the best way. It's a very crummy way of updating. It's not very professional because I changed the order of the list. But if that works for you, that works for you. If it doesn't, then you have to do something a bit more complicated. Okay, so yeah, so this is how I will implement my update, because I don't really care about the arrangement at this point in time just yet. Okay, there will be a proper way if I wanted to do the order of these things a little bit more, if I wanted to take that a bit more seriously. Okay, I'm not going to do that. Okay, set no wrap. Okay, why am I not going to take it seriously? Because the main aim is to sort of get you used to this idea of implementing some methods for the repository. So this is not the best of repositories here. It is just here to serve as a demonstration that we can store data inside a singleton object, which is stored in turn stored inside a RAM. Okay, but of course we can. The juicier bit is to implement this component repository as using the MariaDB database. That will be way more interesting. Okay, and that their way of doing things is way more proper, in my opinion. Okay, so I'm not going to spend too much effort here. Okay, so we have a create component. Okay, we already implemented this. We have populate components. We use this get all components. We use this get all components function or method in order to help it display. So this is the read operation. We have an update component which we used. We have delete components by ID. We have delete components by delete components by component, delete components by ID, and we have a clear all components right here. Okay, so all of this works very well. Okay, so okay, I can do WA to save all files, I guess. So that's fine. So I can just keep adding. Oh, okay, save all files, and all right, let's add components. If I reload this page with the handler add component, it will keep adding component. All right, if I click clear all, it will clear all. If I click populate, it will just populate with some random values. If I click delete component, it will delete by the ID number. Okay. And then if I click update, well, it will delete the existing entry, and then it will add a new component entry. Yep. So that's how this thing is going to be. Okay, I did not auto increment my ID, and I did not do the update things properly. Okay, we can spend time doing that, but really no point. Okay, because we want to move on to MariaDB. Okay, you can do it as you want, as your own exercise, but that's not the focus of this video. Right, I think that's enough for today. I will stop for now, and in the next video, hopefully we can move on to a MariaDB. Okay, MariaDB implementation of this component repository. Okay, so I'm going to do WQA, and I'm going to git add git commit. Okay, git status first. Okay, pages. Okay, git add pages, models, git status. All right, git commit. Git commit component repo ram tested with CRUD operations. Okay, so now this will be the baseline for us to start MariaDB. If we have to do everything in MariaDB from scratch, it will be very painful as well. So you kind of want MariaDB is very complicated because there are lots of layers of things you need to do to get it set up properly. So we set up the component repository interface first, and we test it out with the RAM, with storing data in the RAM using a singleton service. Only after that, then we talk about, okay, let's try doing it using MariaDB, because that's another few layers of complication. Okay, but I'll stop for now. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again. Bye bye.